Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here. We're taking the 4-game Call of Duty main slate on Friday. Yes, I'm so excited for this first ever Call of Duty slate on Draftkings, and this is the one esport I am very familiar with. Before I got into DFS, I actually played competitive Call of Duty for a long time. I competed against a lot of these guys on this slate, so I'm actually very familiar with a lot of them. Yeah, again, really excited for this. I guess what we can do is we can go over the scoring format and how DraftKings is going to score this. So let's do that first before we get into kind of the player-by-player breakdown. So there is one captain spot, 4 flex spots, and a team spot. So we have kills are 2 points for a kill, so a little bit different than CS:GO. CS:GO is 1.5 points for a kill. Call of Duty, it's 2 points for a kill, so kill is a little bit more heavily weighed for Call of Duty. Death still -1. Bomb plants and diffuses are +3. So that's for the search and destroy game type. If the game goes to 5 games, you'll play search and destroy twice. Diffuses are a little bit random, basically, but plants are a little bit more. You can predict them. A lot of the times, one team kind of has a bomb carrier. So that's something I'll talk about more. I made an Excel sheet. We can go over that here in a bit. A hard point, this is basically, the game types, search and destroy is basically just like CS:GO. Offense team, defense team, planning the bomb. They switch off each round. Hard point is like King of the Hill. It's first to 250. For every, you get 0.1 points for every second in there. So say if you're in there for 70 seconds, you get 7 points. And then captures for domination. There's 3 flags on the map. If you secure one of the flags, that's 1 point. And then team statistics here. Again, you have to play one team. Wins are 10 points for the match total. For a game, it's 4 points. And then rounds 1 and S&D are 0.5 points. And one really important thing I want to note is there is no like sweep bonus. There's no GLA, right? So if a team 3-0s a team, and you have a lot of guys in the team that 3-0'd the team, you're not going to get two more games. So this is kind of more just like regular sports, right? So say like the Golden State Warriors from a couple of years ago were playing a team and playing a really bad team, and you knew starters are most likely not going to play in the fourth quarter. Well, that's something we got to consider here for Call of Duty. If a team is pretty heavily favored, there's a chance they 3-0 the team and don't play they miss out on 2 games, which will definitely affect their scores. So yeah, it's really interesting. Just thought I'd bring that up. That's definitely something we have to consider here. So let's take a look at the Vegas odds here. London Royal Ravens versus Atlanta FaZe. Atlanta FaZe are the biggest favorites on the slate here at -475. We have the LA Guerrillas versus Seattle Surge. Seattle Surge are slight favorites there at -145. Optic Gaming LA versus Dallas Empire. Dallas are -210 favorites. And then Chicago versus New York. Chicago are -315 favorites here. So if we're just looking at the team salaries are really cheap. And you're looking at the Vegas odds. I think it's pretty clear which teams I want to target. I'm definitely looking at Atlanta FaZe and Chicago Huntsmen for safety. Sure, you can take a shot on Dallas or one of those underdogs if you want to. But for me, personally, I'm going to go with the favorites there. So either Atlanta or Chicago are what I'm going to use for my team spot there. I know they're the most expensive, but that's the way that I'm going to go about this slate. All right, and another thing, too, I wanted to bring up, I guess, before we get into the spreadsheet is Call of Duty is a little bit more different than CS:GO. CS:GO, it's kind of rare for a player on a losing team, say they get like swept 2-0 or even lose 2-1 to have a really good game. And Call of Duty, you can have a player do really well and still get swept. So I don't think we have to avoid these players on teams that are dogs if you like someone for their salary, right? So that's something I think the public might avoid if they just look at the Vegas odds and say, oh, this team's huge dogs, I don't want to target anyone on this team. I don't think that's necessarily the case. So with all that being said, we can now switch over to my spreadsheet I made for you guys. Let's see, here we go. All right, so yeah, very colorful here. This took me a while to make, so If you guys enjoy this content, we really appreciate if you smash the like button. It does help me out. Again, all free content for you guys. So, yeah, I guess we can go over. We have all the players right here on the left side, and then we have the team, obviously, the salary on DraftKings, the Vegas odds. We have their overall KD, which is pretty significant, right? Again, for Call of Duty, the scoring 2 points per kill. KDs are very, very important. I have each of their hardpoint kill death ratios in there as well. I have their average hardpoint hill time. So on average, I'd say if you're just looking at across the board here, 50 to 60 points is about average. That's about 5 to 6 points per player for hardpoint. Search and destroy KDs, I have these listed as well. I have the plants per game, diffuses per game for search and destroy, domination kill death ratio, and then the caps per game for domination. So if you're just looking at the overall KD, so this column G, right? If we're just looking at that, you can see DraftKings did a pretty good job of kind of correlating players with high KDs for high salaries, right? So Celium for Atlanta, he's 10.2K, pretty high salary, 1.29 KD. Simp, also very high KD, 1.29, 10.4K. Wuskin, really, really high KD, right? 1.41, also a high salary, 10K. And then Octane, 1.28, right? 10.6K salary. So DraftKings did a pretty good job here of, pricing their players based off their KD. And then one thing I did want to bring up too is the plants per game. So again, usually a team has their OBJ player have the bomb. So we can see a guy like, let's see, Shotzi's, right? 2.2 plants per game. That's pretty significant. And you can also see it in domination, right? He's pretty high there in the caps per game, as well as the hardpoint hill time on his team, right? So normally those are going to correlate, right? The players that have the OBJ players are the players that are going to be in the hill a lot. They're going to be carrying the bomb. They're going to be capping the flags. So, and that's some extra points, right? For S&D, that's 3 points for a plant. So that is, some good points. It's not huge in the long run, but it does help. So again, these guys, these OBJ players, it is important to kind of note that, right? A guy like Jerd, 1.73 plants per game, also has pretty high cap percentage, as well as about 60 seconds there in the hill per game. All right, I guess now we can get to players and their salaries. So Atlanta, they are the biggest favorites here on the slate at, now they moved to minus 475. They were minus 500 when I put this in the spreadsheet. Guys like Celium and Simp at the top, I obviously have interest in. They have, some of the highest KDs here of the players in this player pool. But again, there is, since they are the biggest favorites, there's a decent chance that this game could 3-0. And if that's the case, they're not going to get stats for the last two games. So that is a significant worry. That's a risk reward. You're going to have to weigh for yourself. Do you want to take shots on those guys and hope that London can keep it close and take it to 4 or even 5 games? But if we're just looking at one player that stands out for his salary, Major Maniac, right? 7.2K. He's clearly the cheapest player here in Atlanta. 10.4, 9.4, 10.2, 9.2. He's 7.2K. So about a 2 to 3K discount off those top guys. And he's got a pretty decent KD still at 1.1 KD. So I think Major Maniac would be the guy that I would look to here for Atlanta. Again, I have no issue if you want to go Celium or Simp. They are pretty significant favorites, but there's just a risk, right? So it's that risk-reward factor. Do you want to take a shot and hope that London can push it to 4 or 5 games? It's all about, again, the risk-reward. So, Major Maniac at 7.2K, I think he looks pretty good. He has pretty decent hill time. He's definitely someone I'm considering there. If we move on to the Chicago team, again, Chicago are pretty significant favorites as well. They are minus 315, so the second highest on the slate. Kind of like Scump, I played against him a lot at 2v2 tournaments, him and Nate Shot, way back in the day. He was the best player in Call of Duty for a long time. No longer the case now. He's getting older, but he's still pretty solid. Formal as well. He was also considered one of the best players in Call of Duty just a few years ago. And I think this price, his numbers haven't been amazing this year, but he's someone I think is a little bit too cheap there at 8K. Our cities and Envoy there at the top, I think, are fine. But I think Formal, Scump, for their kind of discounts off the top, I think Formal, especially at 8K, I think he stands out. It's probably my favorite play there on the Chicago side. If we move on to Dallas, so Dallas also favorites, not huge favorites, only minus 215. These are all guys that are priced pretty similar, right? Clayster at 8.2, Crimsix at 8K. Krim was also one of those players. He's a veteran. He was, on the old Complexity team, the old EG team. He was considered one of the best players for Call of Duty for a long time. I don't think anymore, but he's still pretty solid. Hook is one of those up-and-coming guys at 8.8K. He's only sporting a 1 KD ratio. Illy and Shots at 7.6 and 7.6K respectively. I think those guys are fine as well. But I don't think one player really stands out here. I think they're all just decent options there in the mid-tier. If we move on to LA Gorillas, so I included, they do have subs here. Guys like Aches, Lacefield, and Saints have subbed recently. And the Gorillas have really been struggling, so they could mix and match here. I'm going to try to keep you guys updated on Twitter to see if we get final or starting lineups. So I'll be on the lookout for that. But yeah, right now their starters are Aqua, Blast, Decimate, Spart, and Vivid. These are guys that are, I think we can look to here for value, because the Gorillas, I know they've been bad, so that does, I guess, kind of drop their salaries, but they're also playing a bad team in the Seattle Surge. So, yeah, I do have some interest here. Guys like Blast and Decimate, not great KDs, but 0.9, 0.93 each. You have Spartan Vivid at 0.74 and 0.79. I don't think I can get to them. Aqua, he's at 1.0 KD, but he's also a lot more expensive. So I think Blast, Decimate, for their prices, I think these are two guys that are look as decent value plays there. We can move on to London now. So London are the biggest dogs here in the slate at plus 325. I think, again, I don't think we have to avoid Wuskin. I think he's going to go very low owned, but if London can push this to 4 or even 5 games, we're probably going to see a big game from Wuskin, who's had a really, really solid 1.41 KD ratio overall. So he's someone at the top that I think goes overlooked, but I have interest in, more of a contrarian option, but I'm looking to him for sure. Other plays here, Dylan, Jerd, rated scraps. Nothing really stands out to me as a great play. Jerd is 6.4K, but I think I like those other guys a little bit more, like Blast, Decimate, at a similar price point. So let's move on to New York. New York haven't been good either. They're plus 235. They've been struggling this year. Their starting lineup here of Attach, Accuracy, Temp, Zero, and Zuma. All priced about the same, right? 7.8, 7.8, 7.4, 7.4, 7.4. If we're just looking off KD, Attach, he's got a 1.0 KD. He is a guy that I think is probably their best player. I've watched him for a lot over the years. I think he does have the most upside there. So Attach is probably the guy that I would look to there on the New York side if I was going to play one of those guys. Other options. Don't mind Zuma at 7.4K either, but I think Attach would be my favorite play there on New York. Last two teams here, we have Optic Gaming LA. None of the original members, but they are plus 165 dogs, so not huge dogs. We have Dashy at 9.4, JCap at 5.8, Kenny at 8K, Slasher at 8.6, TJ Haley at 7.6K. So Dashy's obviously been their best slayer so far to 1.1 KD, but Draftkings did a good job, 9.4K price. JCap is definitely their OBJ guy. He's a really, really cheap price there at 5.8K. I know he's not great in the kill department, but he is a guy that will do some of the OBJ work. So I think he's a viable cheap option. Kenny was really, really good a couple years ago. For Team Caliber. He's at 8K. He's had a subpar year this year. I think he's someone that I have some interest in, as well as Slasher at 8.6K. Hasn't been amazing, but he is a guy that has a lot of upside as well. TJ Haley as well. I mean, this team is very, very talented, so I'm surprised they haven't been that good this year. But those are all guys that I do have some interest in there for Optic Gaming. Again, Dashy, if we can get to him, I think he's a little bit more contrarian. JCap at a really, really cheap price tag. I don't hate that. And then, I think Slasher, Kenny, TJ Haley are all solid there. Last team here, we got Seattle. They are slight favorites here. Octane is the highest priced player on the slate at 10.6K, but for good reason. He is really been slaying a 1.28 KD. Also been getting in the hard point a lot, averaging 81 seconds per game. Even will do a little bit of capping flags. Does have 1.38 diffuses per game. Now, sure, diffuses are, or that's Dom caps, or that's Dom KD. Sorry, thought that was wrong chart here, or wrong column. But yeah, Octane is a guy that I do like. And again, this game is projected to stay close, pretty even spread. So could go 4, could go 5 games. Yeah, I have interest in Octane at the top. I think he's a really solid play. Other options here, Slacked at 6.6, sporting a 0.9 KD. Not terrible, but he's someone for value you could look to. Enable subbed, but I don't think he's going to play for this one. He's at 4.8K. Now, if we get news that he is going to play, then obviously you can look to him at that price. Not a great KD at 0.87, but that would open up a lot for you in your lineups. Karma, veteran. He's won a lot of Call of Duty championships over the year. He's at 7K. I think he makes for a decent value play as well. But yeah, I think that basically does it for the player-by-player breakdown. Hope this chart kind of helped you guys. And it is very, very kill dependent, as we saw by the scoring of Draftkings. But some of the OBJ work, like in the hard point, you can get some points for plants, for S&D, for cappings, for caps and dom. So that kind of does it for the player-by-player breakdown. Again, for team spots, I think I want either FaZe or Chicago for safety. So let's just say we throw Chicago in there right now. Then we have 9.4K remaining. So, again, do you want to throw one of these top guys in your captain? So say we throw in like an Octane in there, then you have 7.8K remaining. I think that still is viable, right? You have 4 spots to fill in. You can probably still get at least one of these top guys in there and then get some of the cheaper guys in. Or you could always, again, take a shot on one of those cheap guys and hope they put up a decent performance. Guy like Blastful, right? Then you have 9.4K remaining. You can almost get whoever else you want in your lineup. So that's one. That's 2 approaches you can go by if you want to throw in one of those guys at the very top, or for throwing a cheap guy and kind of plug in the top guys from there. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're over 3,000 subscribers, so thank you guys all so much for all the support. Yeah, again, really excited for this for Call of Duty 4-game slate. It's new to Draftkings, so it's new to everyone. I'm excited to see how it goes. And again, that one important rule is if a team 3-0 someone, they're not going to get a bonus. So that is something you got to consider, right? Do you want to target those guys in Atlanta? I think there is obviously a huge upside because Atlanta's a great team, but there's a decent chance that game could blow out and they don't get to play an extra 2 games or so. So that's always something to think about when you build your lineups. So thanks again for everyone to come and check the video. Really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all later.